This is Tomislav Mamić. He's from Paperclip, right? Or is that a thing? That's a company, right?
No, it's not a company, but it's a thing.
It's a thing. On-chain IBANs, or e-bonds if you're in Croatia. He recently moved to Berlin, right? This is all true still. And he has 2 real-life pets that aren't CryptoKitties.
Actually 4, but don't tell them that I forgot about them.
I can arrange that. Let's please welcome him.
Okay, hello everyone. So I just changed the topic slightly. No, we are still talking about the same thing. We are gonna end up talking about Paperclip and on-chain bank accounts. But I wanted to start from the beginning. Why are we doing this? And how are we doing this? And first thing is this thing called BridgeDAO. So this is basically, it shows basically, this slide gives you everything you need to know, like what's the problem that we're trying to solve. So in today's talk, I will, sorry.
If you just click once with the mouse to focus it, then that should begin working.
Okay. So first, I will touch upon the fact that most of the dApps currently in Ethereum are failing. And how is that connected to fiat money? And also, how can we get smart contracts to control fiat? Then we will see how BridgeDAO does it and how we specifically implement this in Paperclip. And we'll go through some use cases. So this project started a long time ago. I was probably beginning of this year, we started thinking about how to stop the issues that cryptocurrency companies have with bank accounts. And while talking with different companies in Ethereum, we figured there is even bigger problem, and that's the smart contracts can't really hold any fiat, and most of the users are actually holding fiat. So there are some problems, and there are layers of problems that everybody of us actually wants to have solved. So first of all, nobody uses dApps. This is a very painful problem. dApps are, let's call them dApps or smart contracts, or many smart contracts wrapped in one interface, or however you want to call them. Currently, they're a hot thing. Everybody is investing so much money into building those. And there are reasons to believe that they will be more efficient in whatever service they are providing than any Web 2.0 application that there is. But yeah, nobody is using them. And the reason is that, well, they have awful user experience. And it's not, when I say user experience, I'm not talking about the interface design or whatever. Like, one of the biggest pain points is the fact that you have to use crypto. So you need to buy cryptocurrencies. This implies that you need to first have a wallet, and this means that you need to understand what wallet is. But then you need to know what's a private key, you need to know how to code it. And even if you know all of this, you need to go find some shady crypto exchange and give them all of your family history data and whatever they consider KYC. And this is very painful, and it lasts very long. So in the end, what happens is this: we have the whole market, or let me zoom this for you. We have the whole market of users that would actually need your service. The service of your dApp. But, well, because you demand that your users have crypto, you're just targeting this small circle. And of course, all of these people who are not in the red field are just the regular cryptocurrency chronic gamblers that are users of crypto. And your dApp is not for gamblers, it's for something more useful, like ENS domains or Oregon companies or whatever. So you're basically targeting this small, tiny patch of people here. And what you, well, first thought that you might have is, Well, why is that? Let's try to get to all of these users that are potentially interested in our service. But well, and this is how it would look like. So with one change, with one slight change of your strategy, you could target all of these users that are out there. But there is a problem. There is another problem, and that's that smart contracts can touch fiat. Do you agree with this? Like, is it common knowledge? Do you understand why?
Yes.
So the reason is that only the real people can have bank accounts, right? Only, I think we have some people from banks here. I don't think they would give a bank account to a smart contract or an app or DAO or whatever. Like, give me your OIB or whatever you call your ID, and then we can talk. So this was the rabbit hole that we went through while working on this project and finding a solution of how to enable smart contracts to offer their services more easily to all of users. And this is basically how it looks today. So we have a smart contract here, your shiny, nice, polished dApp that, I don't know, creates CryptoKitties or whatever, and everybody's crazy about them. But unfortunately, all of the users are on the other side of the gap, and the gap is lava, so you can't cross there because you're a smart contract, and their legal system, banking system, fiat money, everything is there. So your users are using fiat, and they know fiat. They know how to use cards, credit cards. They know all of these things. And they don't really want to learn about blockchain and cryptocurrency. They just want to buy your whatever your service is. So let's imagine there is a solution. Let's imagine there is a solution that bridges these things, and let's call it BridgeDAO. I'll explain why DAO. So for now, let's call it Bridge. And what it does is basically it has their friends on the other side, people who cooperate with them and help smart contracts interact with users or suppliers or employees, everybody who actually prefers dealing with fiat, everybody who is familiar with fiat. Like your users, they would probably prefer pay with fiat, not need to have or buy cryptocurrency. Your suppliers would preferably want to get paid in fiat. So if you're paying electricity bill, I really don't think anybody pays electricity bills in cryptocurrency here. Is anybody? No. And employees, many companies or smart contracts have developers who, again, sometimes would prefer to get paid in fiat. So how does BridgeDAO work, and what are these nodes? Well, what we do is we use crypto economic incentives and other tools to kind of create this special smart contract that interacts with people on other side, with like physical people or companies, and bounds them with our special system in order for them to interact on our behalf. So these green arrows here actually show the transactions. So they interact on our behalf, and all that we have to do is basically send them some messages and tell them what to do, and they execute these things as we want. And also there is only one point of communication with us and smart contract. So what tools do we use? Well, it's very easy. We use probably the same things that blockchain already uses. So if you think about it, Bitcoin is you can call it a smart contract that controls huge number of companies and people, and those people are miners. They behave in a certain way, they invest a lot of money, they spend the money and everything as this protocol tells them to do, and this is what we want to achieve and enable the same thing for smart contracts. So these are the tools for total war control of smart contracts. We're giving them this power by using all of these things. So it's incentives, It's staking, it's reputation, it's dispute resolution, it's censorship-resistant messaging, and decentralized governance. And I'll explain now what each of these mean, how they work, and why are they important. So let's start with incentives. Everybody probably understands that these people these pink people there should have some incentives to do some things for us, right? And how do we do this? So we have positive and negative incentives. Positive incentives, of course, are financial payouts. So they will do something if they are going to be paid for it. They will also do something if there is a chance that they will get paid for it, or paid more later for something that they will do later. And there are also negative incentives. They will lose financial payouts. So if they do something, they will not get paid, or they will lose potential of getting paid. So we can write some rules with this. Like if you behave properly, for example, you as physical person hold this fiat currency on your bank account on our behalf, or you make certain payment to another bank account, and we will pay you a fee. Also, if you do this, we will hire you later to do again the same thing, and we will pay you again. But if you behave wrongly, let's say you hold some fiat and we want you to send it, and you do not send it, then you will not get the fee that you could have gotten if you made a transaction, and also will not hire you again because we don't trust you anymore, or we trust you less. So these are pretty good incentives, but they're not good enough. For example, what if one of those friends of ours, those he knows, got like millions of dollars on their bank account, and just runs away. Like the small fee that he could get by transacting this $1 million away is less than the $1 million that he can actually grab and run away. So what we do is we increase the power of these incentives by staking. They have to add collateral into our smart contract, and this collateral is basically how we ensure that they behave in the right way. So they have to put cryptocurrency collateral in our BridgeDAO smart contract in order for us to be able to punish them financially. And so it's not only negative incentive, it's actual financial punishment. We will take some of their money. And now we can write some rules. For example, if you want to play, you need to put in a stake. And now that you have a stake in the system, if you behave properly, you can take your stake and leave whenever you want, and take all of your fees that you collected and everything. But if you behave wrongly, first of all, we will freeze your stake until we decide whether we are going to punish you or not and execute this punishment. Then you will lose some part of your stake, so we can redeem the damaged parties. So if you run away with this $1 million on your bank account, we will take $1.5 million from your collateral. We will pay out the $1 million to the parties that were damaged, and then we will take, let's say, the other half for ourselves. So you actually, in the end, what you lost $500,000. Also, if you, and that's the second part, yeah. Is this, do you understand this? Is this easy to follow? Okay. So this is all economics. There is no cryptography, nothing like that. It's pure economics, game theory. Then we use a reputation as a tool that can help us actually decrease the costs and overhead of the system. So for example, we cannot vet people. Like we cannot decide, okay, this person will be able to transact millions of dollars immediately. That's very risky. Even though even if they put in a big collateral, just getting into disputes resolution process is painful for us. We want the system to be continuously running. So what we can do, we can basically have a reputation system. Each transaction is same as Amazon. Like every transaction you do, and you do it successfully, increases your success or your reputation, and this increases the allowance, like how much money you can actually hold in any time at your bank account. And this is really important because if you hold more money, you can make more transactions, and you get the fee on the holdings and on transactions. So now we can write some rules. If you behave properly, you're allowed to, your allowance or your allowed throughput is increased. If you behave wrongly, it's decreased. If you improve your reputation, you can charge higher fees, or you can make more transactions and all of this. So once again, we have people, there are physical people on the physical world, somebody of you from audience, for example, and we use incentives, we use staking, we use reputation to make you do some things on behalf of smart contracts. But even when all of this works, people are irrational. Be happen wrong. Somebody can actually do something wrong. And what we need is the ability to have final verdict. We need to be able to actually go into dispute and resolve it. So there is different solutions that we can use, and we are going to take a look into what are the options, but this is something that can be used by any of the implementations of this solution, can use any of the solutions for dispute resolution system that are out there. Some of them are Claro, some of them are Aragon Core system. There are many. There are also economics-based, they're decentralized. And how it would look like. For example, a smart contract wanted you as a holder or node to send salary payouts to their employees, and you haven't done it, and there is a dispute. So Claros, for example, will ask us to provide all the documentation, all the transaction instructions. You will have to provide all of your transaction history from your bank account, anything that can help us. And if any side withholds the information, there is high chance that they will lose the courts. And also, and if we have all of this documentation, it's easy to actually find who made the mistake. And while in dispute resolution process, you as a node cannot make any transactions. We can even use this for smart contracts. So the smart contract, if it raises a lot of disputes, it can be freezed. So they cannot use the system. So there are options for us to actually decrease anybody's willingness to actually engage in disputes. And last two tools that we use is censorship-resistant messaging. So all that we need is our ability to send messages to nodes, and they will do everything. Like, we don't need control, we don't need APIs for bank accounts, we don't need anything like that. We just need the ability to send you a message and verify that you actually got it. And the last thing is these people who are nodes, they are physical people or they are companies. And what can happen is that some smart contract is written that tries to use the system in the wrong way, and they get hurt. So this is why we are making it a DAO. We want those nodes to be able to influence decisions on how the system will work, and to ensure that there is no harmful behavior. Also, they can reshape the system to improve it and have better results. So Paperclip is basically a project that tries to implement this exactly with bank accounts and fiat money. But the tools that we just described are applicable generally. Like, you can use this to hire somebody to, I don't know, go buy your groceries. You can use this for somebody to buy your house. You can use this for anything. Like smart contract, this can actually be applied generally. And the whole concept we call BridgeDAO. But the first implementation that we'll try to use it on is fiat money, virtual money transactions, and the project is called Paperclip. And this is how currently the flow of fiat currency or any payments goes when smart contract is used by a user. So most of the users are in bank network, and smart contracts are in Ethereum. So user has to first go to exchange, buy some cryptocurrency, install wallet, then he sends the transaction to smart contract. Smart contract then, when they want to spend this money that they earned, they need to go to exchange and pay this to their suppliers or their employees. With the new flow, we have this. So customer buys a service, buys a smart contract service with a credit card. The money goes into our network, into one of our node bank accounts, and when the smart contract wants to spend this money, there is a message sent to a node in the system, in the network, to send this money to certain supplier, to certain bank account, or whatever. And in Ethereum, we have just messaging, and also Paperclip sends the messages to Paperclip network, and smart contract communicates in their own way with customers and suppliers. So there is no 5% or more exchange fee, there is no KYC process, there is no wallet, there is no cryptocurrency volatility issue, there is none of these problems. So what are the use cases of Paperclip? So one of the biggest issues that everybody asks us about is KYC and anti-money laundering problem. Like, how are you avoiding this? Well, we are avoiding it completely. We are not dealing with cryptocurrency at all. So the smart contract just sells the service, and this service is what we facilitate. We only deal with fiat currency. So, and not only that, we are trying to, in the beginning, we will narrow the usage in only those very known and common services that any company actually uses. So for example, if in kinds of services, we will support subscriptions, licenses, gas costs, some non-retransferable assets. Well, these that I wrote there are retransferable, but we want to avoid what is happening with current currency exchanges, where huge amount of fiat money are stolen, paid into cryptocurrency exchange, then exchange for Bitcoin, and this is perfect exit. Nobody can reverse this transaction. So we don't support these kinds of services. And all of these written here, like we are music streaming, our payroll, or accounting service for DAOs, Gnosis Safe, gas costs. Like if you want, Gnosis Safe is the best wallet on the market, but if you want to have it, you need to first have another wallet with cryptocurrency to pay the gas of creating this wallet. And this is crazy. How we help with this? Well, you can pay with your credit card, you can pay the transaction, you can actually pay the gas costs. So what Tomislav was telling before this, meta transactions, where you can pay with tokens, or Relay you can pay this for you. Here you can pay your gas costs with credit card. And what kind of expenses? So when the money gets into Paperclip network, it's on the bank accounts of our nodes. The payouts can be only for these kinds of services. So it can be salaries to our employees, it can be external services like software licenses, utilities, rent, legal, travel costs, marketing. So there is no illegal or shady or unknown or unfamiliar services that we support. Yeah, that's it. It will be, don't disregard this, but it will be very easy for a smart contract. It will look the same as, this is just an example of a contract call in a function in ERC20 token, and we are going to aim for it to be as simple as this to use these fiat transactions. So yeah, this is where our documentation is. You can find it and comment it and follow it, and yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. Questions?
Yeah, so you mentioned there's these agents that you're going to incentivize on the right-hand side of the lava.
Yeah.
How do I become one of these nodes, one of these agents?
Very easily. You just send huge deposits to us. Actually, you need. So the first thing is you need to deposit collateral.
The stake. Right?
The stake,
Yeah.
exactly. You deposit stake. Stake is probably in DAI because we don't want to have volatility. All the transactions will be probably in dollar and in DAI, and they are 1-1, so we don't have this change of value risk. It should be, and we are gonna try to get as many nodes as possible across different banks, so we get as decentralized network as possible. And also, well, there are some legal questions. For example, should a node apply for e-money license? Well, I'd like to answer that as well. There is a difference between different jurisdictions, and it's quite possible that in some places you will need to be registered, or if you cross the certain amount of transactions, or how much of your revenues comes from these kinds of things, that then it applies to you. Well, whatever it is, it can be done legally, and it can be done in a way that it makes sense for you. And we have already been approached by individuals, companies, regular companies, and even the companies that are applying or already e-money institutions who want to become nodes, because this is potentially very profitable. Yeah.
Am I the only one with questions so far?
Can we
Yeah.
team up to be a node?
We'll go back and forth. I don't know. I don't have any money, so.
Yeah. Just yeah.
In the let's call it payment flow 2.0, the new payment flow.
Yeah.
That one. Paperclip network is interfacing directly with customers and suppliers, and they're inside the EBON circle. So the question is, do you, Paperclip or BridgeDAO, need a banking license to be there in that position?
So Paperclip is a smart contract.
But you deal with fiat.
Yeah, but it's a smart contract.
Go on.
Which means that somebody can deploy, somebody can fork Paperclip. So Paperclip is one implementation of BridgeDAO. So in BridgeDAO you get all of this open source, and you can just rewrite it, change the parameters, and deploy a smart contract.
Call it staple.
What?
Call it staple.
Staple or scissors or whatever you can call it. And you can do it probably anonymously, as you can deploy any transaction or smart contract anonymously. And there is an incentive for people to do this. Probably there will be companies that will create their own implementation of this, and that will be register themselves as e-money institutions, banks, or whatever they want. So I don't think there is like one black and white answer there. I think, and also there is the problem of jurisdictions and all of these things.
So maybe this diagram isn't granular enough, but the Paperclip network also includes inside that circle the nodes, the agents, and those are the ones that have to worry about the licensing.
So they are the first one that are exposed because they are physical people, and they are like, you cannot punish smart contract, but you can punish people. So yeah, Paperclip network implies those nodes. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm having a very hard time binding these together, because at one point you speak about fiat denominations, and at the other point you speak about smart contracts. And I'd like for you to give me a more plastic example of how this would work. I come to a web page, I use my credit card to buy some services, right? I'd like to understand more what happens in the background, what you guys use to initiate that flow, because you can't use fiat on Ethereum, right? You need something.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can't use fiat on Ethereum, but there will be a smart contract called BridgeDAO or Paperclip that has the power to move fiat in fiat network however you want it. So how does it actually work behind the scenes? So you are, as a customer, decide to create an account on decentralized Facebook. So it's an app, and they are using crypto, but you can pay with fiat. What happens is, first of all, the smart contract will send Paperclip that information. There is this customer who wants to pay us for this kind of service. It's already whitelisted, everything is okay. We will just, then what we will do is we will see the bank account or the bank of the customer. We will find the nearest node to this bank of the customer, and we will provide their IBAN account to the smart contract who sold the service. Then the smart contract will provide this IBAN account inside of the bill or whatever, while they're providing this information. They will provide it to the payment processor and the customer. So when customer pays the money, it goes to this certain IBAN account. And this money is then in the network. And here's the thing, if the smart contract wants to spend the money, we will not spend this money that came there from their customer. We will again search for the nearest node to the bank of the supplier who they want to pay, and we will give them a message to make the payment to their supplier. So in the end, it's one network with for outside parties. It's just like one network with one bank account, but actually it's multiple bank accounts, and you can pay to any of those. But we route them in a way that it decreases the cost and it decreases the time that it takes to actually make the transfer.
Yeah, that's clear. I don't see the connection to the Ethereum network here. Like, what you're describing can be done in a non-blockchain system. No?
Well, where you need Paperclip to be a blockchain system is, first of all, collateral.
Collateral doesn't come with blockchain.
Well, how do you make the so if you don't necessarily ask your nodes to put collateral in cryptocurrency, then your nodes to participate in the system have to have huge volumes of fiat. And well, that's okay. Like you can have them put your collateral in fiat, but then where is your collateral stored? Is it on a decentralized network or is it on a bank account? Paperclip doesn't have its own bank account. It's completely decentralized. So if all of your money, the money of your nodes is in one bank account or a couple of them, doesn't matter, you're relying on a centralized system.
Yeah, exactly, which is not always bad.
Well, this is not always bad, and but sometimes it is. Sometimes you, as a smart contract developer, really would prefer to have whole of your system decentralized. Sometimes you, as a node, would rather not hold give huge amount of fiat to a company or whatever, and hope they will give it back to you. Because if it's a smart contract and a cryptocurrency, and you haven't done anything wrong, and you've checked that smart contract is actually good, you can always withdraw. You're sure that your collateral is safe. While in a regular system, sometimes they can get called up and things like that happen.
I get the sense that nodes are accepting some extra liability because they're the ones that are actually making the transaction with a payment provider or with some service on your behalf. So will nodes be incentivized for the risk that they're taking on by doing that?
What kind of risk?
I mean, if I'm a node and you send a contract that says pay this IBAN, and that IBAN is a drug dealer,
okay, yeah.
then
So
I'm taking on risk there.
We are perfectly capable of requesting smart contracts to put collateral as well. And also we are perfectly capable of demanding those smart contracts to provide documentation for every transaction, like the proper receipt of the transaction, what the service and who is the customer. We can do all of these things.
Maybe somebody else.
Yeah.
Because I won't be asking about the money, I'll be asking about that.
Okay.
I'm just asking, okay, you'll send a message to the node, which is a physical random person, and you'll say make payment to this IBAN that much cash. So I didn't understand how will that node have the cash.
Well, yeah,
we get it from you.
For customers. So first,
they will pay.
yeah, you have to get balance.
Yeah. Okay, and if it's like that, isn't there a tax problem? You know, I have my bank account,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, I'm routing
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of euros or millions of kunas over my bank account, and then like.
Yeah,
Someone
well, that's
will,
not your.
someone will raise a red flag like.
Yeah. There will be.
What are you doing, and where is my piece of cake?
The same thing happens with exchanges. They have huge turnover.
Volume.
How do you call it?
Volume.
Huge volumes of money going to their bank accounts, but they don't pay 20% on that. They pay 20% on whatever they keep. So what you keep is your fees, your revenue, and you pay tax on that. And of course, you are.
Yes, but they are companies, not physical.
Yeah, you can do that with physical people as well.
I think his concern is more like.
But that's a legal issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Like
I
Fina's
will
gonna come and
I
say,
will have to explain to the
Fina.
tax, yeah, Fina, why I'm having 1 million kunas all of a sudden on my bank account. Okay, you explain it well, it's fine, but I again need to explain it to them, and then another day I need to explain it again, and another day I need to explain it.
Yeah. So we foreseen this,
And we are in
and in case there is.
Let's focus, guys, please, on the answer.
So we've foreseen this, and if the case is that the jurisdiction or institution that actually can punish you is behaving on rules that is set, probably you can create certain documentation and legal documents that can cover all of these cases for you and enable you to pay them taxes, which they will probably gladly take. But this is only if they are actually behaving by their own rules, and rules are clear and known, which is true in many or some Western countries. I'm not talking about Croatia or Venezuela or other banana countries.
For me, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I have just a quick thing. For me, the killer app I heard was someone can go grocery shopping for me.
Yes.
So like, how do I actually do that? Is this live? Can I do that tomorrow? Because I don't want to leave my
First,
house.
I would challenge that this is killer app because I'm sure that you do at least 5 more fiat transactions than you do transactions buying groceries.
Yeah, it's actually about leaving the house though. Like.
Yeah, but so that's what I said in the beginning on the first slide. Smart contracts controlling the world. You can have it. You can actually have it. You can have a person buy a house for a smart contract, and this smart contract now can use this house anyway because he controls what this person does with the house. And the fiat is only the first use case of this. Technically the easiest, but legally maybe not so. Yeah.
So you listed 6 things that BridgeDAO helps, and I have missed it, but could you please elaborate a little bit more on decentralized governance and how is BridgeDAO?
Yeah, so here's the issue. Some people will want to become nodes, but only if they are not going to be punished by authorities, only if there is certain criteria. And how do you incorporate their concerns into what happens later with the network? By giving them the ability to govern, to decide what's going to happen and how the system is going to be shaped. So basically the nodes will be making decisions. They will vote or something like that, and this is the kind of DAO that we are going to build.
Right. Yeah.
Questions? Yeah.
Could this replace Swift transactions? Because
I think that what I think is that Lightning Network on Bitcoin is gonna replace Swift transactions.
That includes converting to Bitcoin and stuff. As far as I understood, you could send cryptos to someone in, for example, Bosnia without paying 150 kunas.
No. It's not about sending cryptocurrency. It's about selling service that's on chain, but for fiat, keeping that fiat and then spending it again without having to convert in cryptocurrency. Because smart contract can hold cryptocurrency, but it cannot hold fiat. With this, it can hold fiat, and it doesn't have anything to do with Swift transactions or the speed of transactions or anything. It just enables something that wasn't possible before.
So you mentioned that basically this is an extension. This is my thinking of it, correct me if I'm wrong. It's an extension where a smart contract can now hold fiat instead of just a cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Why is that better than a smart contract that is just using DAI?
Because all of these people in red didn't know what DAI is.
Yeah, okay.
And how to get it.
Yeah.
And basically, this will make everyone happy because banks are gonna get their cash again.
Exactly.
Because the customer is gonna pay to the node.
Yeah.
You're gonna take a percentage.
Yeah.
And then you
So-
do whatever you wanna do, and that's again fine. But that's not a question. I want to ask you, what about the GDPR? Because you said you will send a message to a node.
Yeah.
Containing, I guess, some info about IBAN, let's say.
Yeah.
You need to provide name, surname, stuff like that. So the node has to have all GDPR
Yeah.
shit regulated.
Yeah.
So that's also
Yeah.
You didn't mention it. I'm just asking.
Yeah. But
Did
you
you
answered
think
it.
about it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
There's
can't
also
think.
other things that node, which is a physical person, needs to have to be part of that network. I mean,
I haven't really looked into GDPR issues there, but I don't see there would be some problem that cannot be solved in some way.
yeah, it can be solved.
But I want to come back to what you mentioned before. So, and this is the reason why this project makes a lot of sense. Banks don't really dislike smart contracts or dApps. They dislike crypto because they cannot control crypto. So if we cut this connection between smart contracts and cryptos, we enable banks to actually bank the smart contracts. And this is it. This is banks banking smart contracts and taking their cut of it. And if you believe, as I believe, that smart contracts and dApps will become a huge economy on its own, then you can imagine that many banks will want to be able to provide them services. Banks will want to use their special position of having the access to all of these users. And this is what we do. And now the banks will be happy. Developers of smart contracts and smart contracts themselves, if they're aware of it, will be happy. Yeah, we don't really have to rely on all of these issues or limits that we had before. If we are able to employ these tools, which I believe the only question is how much money will the legal work cost and how much time it's going to take. I don't see any technical or economical issues for this to work. I think it can become as bulletproof as Bitcoin mining or awards. Yeah.
So you're not a money transmitter.
No, no. It's basically what I said, IBAN interface or bank interface for smart contracts. But the banks are doing the money transfers. The users, the banks.
Can we share?
Mela? Sorry, just question?
Sorry, I might have missed info, but do I need to stake before each transaction?
Do you need what?
Stake before each transaction.
So you as a node,
Yes.
you are either a node or not. When you're a node, you need to have a stake in the system. You can't.
The system, but not for each transaction.
No. You're like, let's say you deposit 1,000 DAI, and while your DAI is in our smart contract, in hold of our smart contract, that's the amount of money that you can hold on your bank account. You know, you receive from the customers of dApps, and also that's the limit of transactions that you can make in whatever time you have. If you withdraw the deposit, you cannot do any more transactions.
Yeah, but at some point I can get a lot of transactions, fill the limit. That
Yeah, and then we will not throw out any more transactions to you.
Yeah, but then you'll need a lot of rich guys to scale. If you want to, there is a question. Like if you want to have huge transactions, for example, then you need to fragment them in small transactions that will come to these different IBAN accounts, because you have the problem of the limit. It's not money laundering. That's not money laundering.
It could be seen as, yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it couldn't. It's not. That's not it. So.
Yes, it is.
I would just like to add, Tom, because the 50 ML directive, which I mentioned in my speech, is actually adding to all existing data for transaction, like reason for transaction. So not just source of income for transaction, but reason for transaction. And maybe this is something that touches.
For example,
you have to define why something is happening.
Yeah, smart contract wants to pay their utility bill, is the reason. And this utility bill is bigger than any of our nodes actually has a limit to perform, right? Like none of our nodes has enough money to pay this bill fully. So we use a small trick there. We put a bounty. We say whoever pays this utility bill to I'm now replying to her question. So sorry. We say there is a bounty. This company needs to get $1 million of dollars, but we cannot pay it because none of our nodes has enough money, and they don't really want to get 1,000 transactions of $1,000. So if anybody pays this, we will give you back your 1 million, and we will give you a fee, and that's it. And there will be one rich guy who will do the payment. When it comes to receiving, yeah, there is some issues. Like you can't really put put inside more money than we have collateralized, because that's basically all the money that's not collateralized is at risk. So yeah, that will probably be a limit of what we can do for now, but maybe there could be some way to change that. But I believe that if there is a need, there will be a supply as well.
Let's have one more quick question, and then we'll introduce the crypto hunt, and then we'll have the networking and crypto hunt session, and Tomislav will be around to answer all of your further questions.
Till the morning.
Till the morning. So one final quick question.
It's not a question. I just want to share some information with you. Bank accounts, they have implemented multi-currency in credit. You have one IBAN with dollar and same IBAN with euro. And one bank is developing IBAN, like multi-currency IBAN. And that's maybe a killer for your plan.
Yeah, but it's still probably going to be used by users who are familiar.
Big American bank,
Yeah.
it's a Barclays, it's
Yeah.
present in Europe.
Well, there are many banks that are researching about cryptocurrency and everything. What we are doing is not that. We are not, as I said, we are not touching cryptocurrency. We are not doing any exchange of currency or anything like that. We're just facilitating payments of services and expenses. And of course, it would help if banks are friendly towards us. And we are building this in a way that they have no reason not to be.
Okay, thank you again.